Hey guys, this is Kyle. As you can see here, I've got a Vita 2000 to unbox for you today. You see that it's the light blue white, my two favorite colors. You will notice I'm a little bit behind on this. You may have already seen an unboxing video or two for the Vita 2000, but I'd like to keep my channel going, and I finally got my Vita 2000 today. And I figured, why not? I'll get an unboxing video up for you guys, maybe keep it a little more informative than other videos. And I will also end up doing some comparisons with, of course, the classic Vita 1000. So that will be in this video. We'll do a size comparison, and then in some other videos as well, of course, checking out the screen and the buttons. So anyway, of course, first thing you'll see here is the box for the 2000. It's pretty small, about the same size as the box for the 1000, a bit smaller than that. See the bottom there? Inside. Moving on to the top, just some barcodes and some information. And the other side there. And you'll see here listed, this is the Wi-Fi model. There is no 3G or 4G model for the Vita 2000. Of course, the 1000 does have a 3G model, but so far the Vita 2000, no matter which version you get, you will only get a Wi-Fi model. Speaking of models, there are a bunch of different color variations of these that came out. I believe there are 5 different color variations, plus all the limited editions that are coming out for God Eater 2, Final Fantasy X, and a few others there. You'll also notice this here is saying that there's 1 GB of memory built into the system, so that is a new feature. It allows you to get going straight out of the box. Unfortunately, there have already been reports that this 1 GB will not add to to a memory card that you plug into the system. So I'm going to plug in my 64 or 32 GB memory card, and this 1 gig will basically just disappear, which is sad, but that's the way it's working now. You see the model number here, PCH2000. Go ahead and flip it over so you can take a look at the back. Warranty stamp here. Some information about PlayStation Plus here. I believe that this system actually does come with a 3-month free subscription to the Japanese PlayStation Plus. I think I remember seeing that somewhere. I'm not even sure if it's listed here at all, but this is just talking about PlayStation Plus. This part is talking about how there's 1 GB of memory built into the system, basically what I just told you about, so that you can get going right away. Of course, if you're going to download any games whatsoever, 1 gig won't do it for you, but you could use that for your game saves and everything else. And this just talks about the contents of the system. Nothing special there, of course. That's what we're going to get to in the unboxing here. So let's go ahead and get it open. There we are. You see it's packed in there pretty well. And on top here, safety guide for the Vita 2000 in particular. Talks about, battery, stuff like that. Welcome to the world of PlayStation. This does seem like a much cheaper version of the one that came with the original Vita. Paper's really thin. I remember the one that came with the original Vita was quite thick and looked like it was printed more full color. This is more of just a fold-out informational sheet on both sides there. Basically a beginner's guide there. This is pretty funny. These are the AR cards that came with the Vita 1000, except you'll notice they're not so much cards anymore. They've just printed the 6 on a piece of paper. So as you may have heard, Vita 2000, so far it seems like they've tried to cheap out everywhere that they could here to save some money. There's your AR cards all printed on a piece of paper. A code for AR Play. And last but not least, although maybe least, just warranty information. Okay, so that's all the documentation in there. Let's take a look at the charger, which will be a little bit different. First of all, we've got the adapter here. And you'll see that this may actually be exactly the same. Because, of course, this side goes out to a USB connection, and it also did on the 1000. And this side goes out to an AC connection, which, of course, it also did on the 1000. This piece will also very likely be the same here. This is the AC half of it. So of course you've just got the AC side here, double round, and that outs to an AC connection. So it does look a little bit different than the cord I'm used to with the Vita 1000. The plastic here actually even looks a little bit smaller. Again, not sure if they did that because they were able to save money doing that, or if this is just an updated version of the cord. But that's the AC half, and again, that's basically serving the same function. Here's where we're going to run into a little bit of a difference here, because the Vita port on the Vita 2000 has been updated to micro USB, which means you can charge it with any cell phone charger. If you use an Android phone, it's very likely that your phone has micro USB charging. iPhones don't, unfortunately, but that's the one right there. It is also the same, I believe. No, it's going to be a little bit different than the one on the top of a PS3 controller. I think that's actually going to be mini, while this is micro. So a little bit different there. But again, you'll see that that's USB. So the USB will plug into here. And you'll notice it's just much smaller, much smaller than the 1000 proprietary plug was. So they have gone non-proprietary here, which is very cool. And that looks to be it, besides, of course, the system itself. I can already tell it's much smaller and lighter than the 1000. I did play with these a little bit at Tokyo Game Show this year, so I have held and seen them before. But there you go. There's the 2000 there. And again, we can get a shot with the 1000 here. It's definitely been streamlined a little bit there. It is much thinner. You'll see it sits down much farther there. Again, I will do another video where I'm going to take a look at comparing the screens and buttons. This is more for size. The biggest thing that stands out to me about the buttons, though, is you'll see I hate these buttons. This one's decent sized, but it doesn't stick out at all. It's completely recessed. It's flat. Same with these buttons, and these are tiny, so you feel like you end up pushing in to hit the button, and they are awful to hit. These buttons, on the other hand, they both stick out just a little bit here in the case of the PlayStation button, and even more in the Start and Select, and they're just quite large. They're much easier to hit, so you're not going to have to feel like you have to gouge down in there. That was pretty much my biggest complaint about the 1000 hardware there, was the Start and Select buttons and the PlayStation button. The other thing that you're going to notice, let's just take a look around here. There's the top. You do have LED indicators, which I believe are used to show power and different things like that. Power buttons up here. You'll notice just one slot here. If you look at the 1000, where it says PS Vita on the top, that's where the game goes, and then you had this other slot that was never actually used. So it was always a little off-center. In this case, they've gone ahead and centered the game slot there. Volume plus and minus buttons, again the indicators, and the power button. The other thing I like, at least from what I've seen at TGS, these don't rock back and forth as much as these do. These buttons are really loose back and forth, which isn't the end of the world. These have a little bit of a sway to them, but it's much less. So again, I'll go over that sort of stuff in another video, but that's just, again, some things that I've noticed. The other thing is, let's take a look at the back here. You'll notice that the rear touchpad is actually smaller. It's been scaled down. So you'll see that the rear touchpad starts here on the 1000, and it actually starts here and ends here on the 2000. So height-wise, it looks the same, but they've pulled the sides in a little bit. I think after 2 years with the Vita now, I don't really think that's anybody's loss. The things that they've been able to use the rear touchpad with, it has worked great in a couple of instances, and in every instance I've used it where it's worked great, it hasn't needed to be this big. It really hasn't. It just tends to get in the way. So I think this size will be much better. The grips on the side of the console are further in. The biggest complaint with a lot of people is when they were holding it, they were touching the back of the back touch here. And in this case, you won't do that. So it's a good thing there. Back to the hardware on the 2000 here. Just look at the bottom. You've got a bit of a face there. Not really. Those are just screws. So that's the charging port. Again, very small micro USB. Headphone port in the middle there. This is going to be your memory card slot over here. Okay. One more thing that I want to point out that I didn't like about the 1000 that I'm pleased with in the 2000 is these little slots right here. They are still there, but on the 1000 they're quite large. You know, I honestly have cleaned these out a couple of times just because dust will get in here. I don't know why they leave this open and exposed here. I guess it's just a part of how they want it to look. But they are much smaller on the 2000, these exposed slots here. So I could see that not being as big of an issue as it is with these wider 1000 back slots. And again, I never really liked those. I never really understood why they left this kind of sharp. Not that you would ever, you know, not that it would ever be sharp against your skin or anything, but I don't know why there's a really sharp piece of plastic right there. And again, on the 2000, it's quite fixed here. It's not so sharp. It feels much smoother. The other big thing here is, again, this is a black model. So on all of the 1000 black models here, this was matte, this was matte. And then, of course, the back here is gloss. It is the same here. This is matte. Of course, this is the back touch, it's gloss, and this is matte. But if you've ever seen a white model, a red model, or a blue model, the white models came out in the States limitedly, blue and red never did, but the entire back was gloss. This was gloss, and the back was gloss. On the 2000, these are all matte on every model, so I prefer that. I greatly prefer that. So again, if you have a black model here, it's not a big deal, but I did own a white model for a while, I owned a red model for a while, and I hated the fact that the entire back was gloss. So again, you've got your camera here. D-pad and buttons, I don't see a great change on them, just the way they look right here, but again, I will play with them just a little bit and see. The camera's a little bit more noticeable there. Analog sticks may feel a little bit different, and in the Vita 2000's case, these sides are actually curved a little bit, where on the Vita 1000, there's a sharp end again. I prefer the curved look personally, but that's going to come down to personal taste. Again, between the curved plastic here and the kind of sharp, round silver edge here. So, speakers essentially the same. They've changed the, you know, this is more of a circular, you know, 6 dots around the middle dot, and this was always just 6 dots like this. Again, that's going to be looks more than anything there. Finally, what I want to do is we'll just get some side comparisons here. Just move this stuff out of the way a little bit. So again, just to get a look here, and you can kind of see here just how much the Vita 1000 has size-wise over the 2000 there. It is a noticeable difference. I know that you can't feel it. This is much, much heavier. I remember when the 1000 came out thinking, man, this is so light. It's a lot lighter than I thought. But now this is much lighter. It's basically the difference between a PSP 1000 and a PSP 2000. If you've ever held both of those, it's a big difference. So, all right, and then looking at it from a top-down perspective here, you won't notice the rest of it too much. I believe actually in the Vita 2000's case, it is a little bit longer this way, just a touch longer. It comes out a little longer this way, and it's a touch shorter this way. And again, guys, that is a Vita 2000. White and light blue model. I will be doing further videos here to show off the difference in the buttons, if I find much of a big difference there, as well as the screen. The screen is the big one, and I know there are some comparisons out there, but I'd like to do a comparison of my own. We'll also be talking about the battery going forward. Thanks a lot for watching the video today, guys. Look forward to some further videos coming up, and I hope you guys have a good one.